Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Nothing Phone 2 and compare it against the Nothing Phone 2A and see which particular phone is the better one for you. We'll talk about some of the big differences, some of the main things that you should probably be kind of aware of, but I will definitely tell you between both these devices, I think the Nothing company has definitely made some improvements, and I do like the approach that they kind of have with the Nothing Phone 2A, with it being somewhat of a cheaper phone and with it being of good quality and everything like that. So we'll talk about that throughout this video. If you want to pick up these phones or maybe some other phones I'd also recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Nothing Phone 2A and the Nothing Phone 2, starting off with the Phone 2, this phone has a 6.7-inch LTPO OLED display on the front of it. It's 1080p and it's a pretty good looking panel. It is definitely a better panel, I would say, than the Nothing Phone 2A. They look very similar and they're the same size, but you're definitely getting, I think, a better panel on the Nothing Phone 2. Some reasons for that. One, I think it's better technology on that panel, but also it gets brighter than the Nothing Phone 2A. The 2A is still a good panel, but the 2's definitely is, I think, a little bit better. You have a hole punch display, a little bit of bezel around it, but overall a pretty good looking phone. With the Nothing Phone 2A, you're getting a 6.7-inch AMOLED display on this particular phone. Now that particular device is also 120Hz. It looks very good, and it's a good panel for sure. I think it is actually a fantastic panel for the price tag. The fact that it is 120Hz is pretty wild, because they could have put a 90Hz panel on this thing, but a 120Hz panel is actually very, very crazy. On top of that, you're getting a lot of other things. Very thin bezels around them, and I do like the way they all look, but I definitely do think when it comes down to both of them, very solid panel, very solid displays on both, without a doubt. Now on the bottom, you're getting USB Type-C ports on both these devices, which is very cool. I love having USB-C, and you are essentially getting that on both these phones. You're also getting pretty much flat sides for the most part on both these devices, but keep in mind that the Nothing Phone 2A is primarily built out of plastic, with the Nothing Phone 2 is built out of basically like aluminum. So you're definitely getting a way better feeling phone from the Nothing Phone 2 than the Nothing Phone 2A. And the rest of the body, this is where you can start to see where the Nothing company kind of started to cut corners. They didn't really cut corners. This is where you can see them trying to drop the price of the Nothing Phone 2A, because the Phone 2A is significantly cheaper than the Phone 2. Now on the back side, this is also a very interesting thing. So your plastic back on the Nothing Phone 2A, where you're getting a glass back on the Nothing Phone 2. So this is also another pretty big thing. You are getting an overall way better, I would guess, feeling phone from the Nothing Phone 2 than the Phone 2A. On top of that, you're also getting a dual camera setup on the back side as well. So this is something that's really cool. You can have that ultra-wide camera and that wide angle lens there too if you really need it. But it is a really, really cool thing to have that type of capability on both these phones. Now beyond that, those are really the big changes. I would say you're getting obviously a cheaper phone on the Phone 2A, but I would say the big thing here for the most part is that with the Phone 2A, you're missing out on some basic things like, wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. You are not getting that on the Nothing Phone 2A, but you are getting a bigger size battery on the Phone 2A than the Nothing Phone 2. So that right there is like a very funny thing. I don't know why it's like that, but that's just like another minor thing, I guess, that's going on with these particular devices as well. So beyond that, I think that kind of covers it up here on the outside. And for the most part, at least as far as I can tell, those are the main differences here. Now, in terms of the camera side, well, actually in terms of the price side first, this is another interesting thing. The Nothing Phone 2 right now on Amazon is, I think, still over $600. The Nothing Phone 2A is like it's like $350 to buy it brand new. That is a significantly, big difference in terms of the price tag. And if you're going from one device to the other, just based off the price tag standpoint, you are going to be getting a significantly better phone from a price tag standpoint on the Nothing Phone 2A than the Nothing Phone 2. And I can't wait for a couple of years when the Nothing Phone 2A ends up becoming way cheaper. It's going to be a very, very crazy thing in the used market. So that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, in terms of the camera side, this was another interesting thing. So as I mentioned before, you're getting a dual camera setup on both these devices. So you're getting a wide and an ultra-wide camera on both, which is genuinely very cool. I love having that type of capability, and this is, very nice. You're getting 4K at 30 on the back of the Nothing Phone 2A, but you're getting 4K at 60 on the back of the Nothing Phone 2. So you are getting a little bit of an enhanced camera and a better camera overall on the Nothing Phone 2 than the Nothing Phone 2A. So that right there is kind of one big thing to keep in mind. You're getting an overall better camera, I would say, on the Phone 2A for sure. Getting 1080p on the front of both these, which is not my favorite. I definitely would want better, higher resolution than just 1080p on the front. But again, it is what it is. There's not much we can really do about it. It is still nice that we have that type of capability here nonetheless. So from that standpoint alone too, that's another very big thing to keep in mind, that you are getting, I would say, a little bit of an enhanced camera kind of in a way on the Nothing Phone 2 than the Nothing Phone 2A. So that right there's like another big thing to keep in mind as well. Now, on top of that, some other big things to keep in mind with these, with both these phones is basically when it comes down to the software perspective. I think with something like these two devices, they're very good. I do like having both these phones because they're going to be very, very solid, but do keep in mind that when it comes down to how long these phones are going to last, it could be a little bit of a different experience. Mostly because with the Nothing Phone 2a, it does have a little bit of a different chipset than the Nothing Phone 2. So if you're wanting a phone that if you're wanting the phone that is basically going to be giving you the overall better experience in terms of a software standpoint, I'm not really too sure which one I would, highly recommend here. You have to remember that with the Nothing Phone 2, this is the phone that has the newer enhanced chipset with the Snapdragon chipset versus like this way watered down MediaTek chipset. I don't know if the Nothing Phone company, I don't even know how long the Nothing Phone 2 was going to last. But if I had to pick up one over the other one, I'd probably pick up the Nothing Phone 2 just because I would assume that one's going to last longer because that one is the newer phone. So that right there's like kind of like another thing to keep in mind there as well. Now beyond that, both these phones from a performance standpoint, it's a very interesting standpoint here too. So with the Nothing Phone 2, this phone has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset inside with 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM, where the Nothing Phone 2a has that MediaTek Dimensity 7200 Pro chipset, which is a crazier chipset than what it sounds like, with 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the thing I will tell you about the performance side of both these phones is that, it's a very good performing phone on both these. Clearly, the Nothing Phone 2 is going to be giving you a better experience. I really do feel like that type of device is a very good performing device in almost every single way you'd probably imagine. It's maybe not as fast as the Galaxy S24s or anything, but with the phone like the S24, that phone is obviously more expensive than the Nothing Phone 2. I like the Nothing Phone 2 for having that type of capability there, and I do think this in and of itself is a very cool thing. I do think at the end of the day, if you're going through and getting some sort of device, the Nothing Phone 2 for having that type of capability is very, very cool. It's a very fast phone. The 2a, on the other hand, is a little bit of a different story. This type of device is going to be giving you a little bit of a different experience, I would say. It's not as fast as the Nothing Phone 2, and it's not going to be giving you like very high, chips. Like it's not going to give you the best performing chipset of all time, but I do think for the most part, it's good enough and it can get the job done for probably a vast majority of people out there. But I do think that's probably one big thing to keep in mind is that you're going to be getting overall the better performing device in almost every single way on the Nothing Phone 2 than the Phone 2a. So to kind of sum up this whole entire comparison, what I would definitely tell you is these two phones are very interesting. I look at a phone like the Nothing Phone 2 and the Nothing Phone 2a, and they are a little bit different than one another. They're actually very different, but they still have a lot of capability. There's still lots of quality between these two devices, and I do think that's something that's very cool between both. I think if I'm going to pick up one device, it's definitely going to be probably the Nothing Phone 2, but it is pretty shocking to me how good of a job Nothing did with the Nothing Phone 2a. It's a very cheap phone. It really doesn't cost that much, and it costs less than $400, which is significantly cheaper than a lot of other phones that have been coming out this year. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.